Have you ever been riding in a car on a rainy day or sitting near a window on a cold morning when the glass suddenly turns cloudy and hard to see through? One moment the outside world is perfectly clear, and the next it looks like someone breathed across the glass with a giant invisible fog machine. Maybe you wipe it away with your hand, only for the haze to slowly return again. It's such a common experience that most of us barely think about it. Yet behind that simple layer of fog is a fascinating mix of physics, temperature, and tiny droplets of water interacting with the air around us. Today we will uncover the simple science that makes clear glass suddenly turn misty, right here on History of Simple Things. To understand why windows fog up, we first have to talk about something that's always present around us but often invisible: water vapor. The air around you is never completely dry. Even on a clear day, the atmosphere contains small amounts of water in the form of gas. This water vapor comes from oceans, lakes, rivers, plants, and even from the moisture we release when we breathe. The amount of water vapor in the air is what we call humidity. Warm air can hold more water vapor than cold air. This is a key part of the story. When the air is warm, water molecules move quickly and stay mixed into the air as an invisible gas. But when air cools down, those molecules slow down and begin to gather together. When enough of them cluster, they transform from invisible vapor into tiny liquid droplets. This transformation from vapor to liquid is called condensation. It's the same process responsible for clouds in the sky, droplets on the outside of a cold drink, and the dew that forms on grass in the morning. And it's exactly what's happening when a window fogs up. When condensation forms on glass, it happens because the glass surface is at a different temperature than the surrounding air. Glass changes temperature quickly, especially when it separates two environments that are very different, like the warm inside of a house and the cold outside air. Imagine a winter morning. Inside your home, the heater might be running, people are breathing, maybe someone is cooking breakfast or taking a hot shower. All of these things add moisture to the air, so the indoor air becomes warm and humid. Meanwhile, the window glass is being cooled by the cold air outside. Even if the room is warm, the glass itself may still be much colder than the air inside the house. When the warm, humid indoor air touches that cold glass, the air right next to the surface cools down rapidly. And remember, cooler air cannot hold as much water vapor as warm air can, so the extra moisture has to go somewhere. The water vapor condenses into tiny droplets on the surface of the glass. Those droplets scatter light, which is why the window suddenly looks cloudy or foggy instead of transparent. If you look closely at a fogged-up window, you'll notice that it's not actually a uniform mist. It's made of thousands of microscopic beads of water clinging to the glass. These droplets bend and scatter light in many directions, making it hard to see clearly through the surface. Sometimes the droplets grow larger and begin to merge together. When this happens, they may form streaks or trickles that slide down the window. That's why foggy windows sometimes develop little rivers of water running down the glass. The opposite situation can also happen when condensation forms on the outside of a window instead of the inside. This is especially common during warm, humid summer days. Imagine stepping outside with a cold drink on a hot afternoon. Almost instantly, water droplets form on the outside of the glass. The drink isn't leaking. Instead, the cold surface cools the humid air around it, causing water vapor to condense into liquid droplets. Windows can behave in the same way. If your air conditioner cools the inside of your house while the outside air is warm and humid, the outer surface of the glass may become cooler than the surrounding air. When warm outdoor air touches the cold window, condensation forms on the outside. So whether fog appears inside or outside a window depends on which side has warmer, more humid air and which side has the cooler surface. There's another important concept that helps explain this process: the dew point. The dew point is the temperature at which air becomes so cool that it can no longer hold all its water vapor. When air reaches this temperature, condensation begins to form. If the surface of a window is at or below the dew point of the surrounding air, moisture will start collecting on the glass. That's essentially the moment when the fog appears. For example, if indoor air has a dew point of around 10 degrees Celsius and the window surface cools to that temperature or lower, water droplets will begin forming on the glass. The higher the humidity in the air, the easier it is to reach the dew point. That's why windows fog up more often in places with high humidity, like bathrooms, kitchens, or cars filled with people on a rainy day. Every breath adds moisture to the air, gradually raising the humidity inside the space. Cars are a particularly good example of how quickly windows can fog. When you sit inside a car on a cold day, your body heat warms the air in the cabin. At the same time, every breath you exhale contains water vapor. Within minutes, the air inside the car becomes warm and humid, but the windshield is still being cooled by the cold air outside. When that humid air touches the cold glass, condensation forms almost immediately. So the next time your window turns cloudy on a cold morning or during a rainy drive, you'll know that it's not just random fog. It's the result of warm air meeting a cooler surface, pushing invisible water vapor to transform into tiny droplets you can finally see. And in that brief moment, when the world outside looks hazy through the glass, you're actually witnessing one of the most fundamental transitions in nature: the quiet shift of water from vapor back into liquid right before your eyes. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.